You're listening to the WaxPackHero Sports Card Minute, a podcast where we discuss both the hobby and business sides of collecting. I'm your host, Mike Summer, and I want to help you buy, sell, and trade your way into a collection you'll love. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the WaxPackHero Sports Card Minute. Today I want to talk a little bit about goals. When we start a new year, like we are here in January 2020, the idea of setting a New Year's resolution or some other new goals is on a lot of people's minds. And I'm no different, and last week I posted a blog article covering my goals for 2020. We'll talk about that here in a bit, but first I want to talk why having goals is a good thing in general. Before we get to that, I want to give a shout out to Matt, otherwise known as @1986astros on Twitter, and he provided our second 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. He said, "Mike does a great job with his podcast, and I can't wait to hear more. Keep up the good work." Thanks, Matt, and I am planning to deliver 2 episodes per week for the foreseeable future, so hopefully that's what you're looking for. All right, so personally, I'm motivated by goals. I have short-term and long-term financial goals for my family that we work to achieve. Last year, one of them was to pay off our mortgage and become 100% debt-free, and I'm happy to say that my wife and I accomplished that. I also have spiritual goals as I strive to deepen my faith. As a leader in my day job, I've been responsible for developing goals for myself, my teams, and I even helped set sales targets for our entire Canadian sales force. I've seen firsthand how the additional direction and focus that comes with having a goal leads to positive outcomes. Now, one of the primary theories about goals that I tend to subscribe to is that they should be SMART. That's an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. A goal should be specific, so it's clear what exactly you're shooting for. If it's too generic, there's a risk that you will either underachieve because it seems like you've already made it, or you may flounder around a bit because you aren't really sure what you're supposed to be doing. So be specific and be clear about what you want to accomplish. It also needs to be measurable. Goals that lack the ability to be measured are really hard to evaluate. Many people say one of their goals is to be happy. Well, how do you measure that? The key is to think about what activities you're doing when you feel that emotion, and then you set your goal to do more of those things. It's easy to measure goals about losing weight, saving money, etc., but it's more difficult to measure things like emotions. Achievable. A goal that's not achievable will not be motivating. I could say that I want to complete the 1952 through 1969 complete top sets all in 2020, but that wouldn't be achievable, and I'd have a hard time even getting up the will to try. It's more motivating when you set a goal that might be a challenge, but is still within your reach. You also want your goal to be relevant. The goal should be relevant to your life. I'm not going to say much more about that. It comes more into play in a business scenario, but you also want your goals to be time-bound. Short-term goals are okay, long-term goals are okay, but vague, open-ended goals aren't ideal. There's a lot of personal goals that are year to year, and my long-term goals anchor to my target retirement age. I recently saw a statistic that says 92% of people who make New Year's resolutions don't keep them. Only 8% follow through. If that's the case, why even try? I have a feeling that part of that is because many resolutions don't follow the SMART methodology. And similarly, not every goal will be hit, nor should it. Goals should stretch us. Goals should push us to be better. And at the end of the day, we want our goals to motivate us, and we should work hard to achieve them. However, knowing we may not reach all our goals shouldn't keep us from setting them in the first place. The thing about goals is that if you don't hit them, you're still likely better off for trying. Were you trying to lose 15 pounds and only lost 10? Well, you're still healthier than when you started. Did you want to pay off $10,000 in debt but only paid off $8,000? You're still better off. Did you want to save 10% of your income towards retirement but only save 5%? Once again, you're still better off. Even the process of setting a goal and developing a plan to achieve it makes you better. So as you can see, I like goals. But at the beginning of 2019, I realized I had never set goals for collecting. So I decided to do something about it. I came up with 4 goals I wanted to work towards in 2019. And those goals were the following. First, I wanted to have a vintage PC goal. So I wanted to finish building my 1972, my 1974, and 1975 Topps baseball sets. And fortunately, I did it. Earlier in 2017, I had completed the 71 and 73 sets, so I wanted to complete 74, 75, and 72 last year. I was able to do that. I was even able to complete the 1970 set, so I kind of exceeded my expectation there. I also had a modern PC goal of acquiring the base sets for all three 2019 flagship releases, the two heritage releases, Bowman and Bowman Draft. I like going after the vintage sets, but I also like to have the modern sets as well. For me, it serves as kind of a historical record of who played in the majors and who the prospects were in the majors each year. And so I wanted to complete those 7 Topps sets, and I was able to do that as well. Third, I had a financial goal of letting my collection pay for itself. As we've already kind of talked about in the podcast, having a self-sustaining hobby is one of my main motivators, and so I've set a goal to say that I will not buy any cards that aren't paid for through sales of other cards. I truly want to have the self-sustaining hobby, and for the 3rd straight year, I've been able to achieve that, or I was able to achieve that in 2019. I also had a WaxPackHero goal. At the beginning of 2019, I had been doing the blog for about a year, and I was really doing a lot of learning and getting my feet wet and trying to figure out what this was all about. So last year, I wanted to establish a goal that I would really start to focus on growing the WaxPackHero community. And so I wanted to double my Twitter followers, my YouTube subscribers, and the page views to the website. So I started the year with just over 200 Twitter followers, and so my goal was to grow to 404. And by the end of December, I was up to a little over 1,200. So I blew that one out of the water. That was pretty exciting. The second one was to grow my YouTube subscribers from 280 to 560, and that one didn't get quite as much traction. I didn't have quite as much content I put out on YouTube last year, and while I grew, I didn't grow to 560. I think I ended somewhere in the mid 300s. Finally, the website traffic started the year at around 1,000 page views per month, and I wanted to get that to 2,000 a month by the end of the year. And it actually also exceeded the goal pretty good, and I was averaging right around 3,500 to 4,000 page views a month. And so, again, not huge, but it was a nice increase, and I hope to look to build on that in 2020. Overall, I was pretty happy with the success I had in achieving my goals in 2019. And so I wanted to set some equally as challenging goals for 2020. And so here's what I'm going to accomplish this year, or what I'm going to be striving to accomplish this year. First is another vintage PC goal, and that's to complete the 1969 Topps set. I have a couple hundred cards already to serve as a starter set for this goal, and I already have the Reggie Jackson and the Mickey Mantle, which are 2 of the bigger cards. And so knowing that I'm already starting with those couple big cards and a couple hundred kind of base commons, it should be achievable. It's not the ambitious goal of 4 or 5 vintage sets that I had last year, but it'd still be nice to knock off my first complete set from the 60s. I also want to acquire the same 7 2020 base sets from Topps. So again, that's Topps Series 1, 2, and Update, Topps Heritage High, Bowman, and Bowman Draft. Third is, again, I want to have my card income be greater or equal to my card expenses. Being a self-sustaining hobby is once again one of my goals. And actually this year, the one difference about this is that I'm considering website revenue as part of that hobby income. And so over the last few months of 2019, the website actually created enough revenue to cover my hosting costs as well as some of the other administrative costs I have. And I'd love to see that continue to grow. I see the potential for it to actually develop into a meaningful source of income as I approach retirement. So I've got 10 to 15 year runway for that to happen, but I'm content to let that slowly but surely build year after year. Third comes into WaxPackHero and what I'm doing with the website and the blog and the podcast. I have a goal this year for 2020 to post at least 150 pieces of content to the website. It might be the toughest one to complete. That's 3 to 4 pieces of content a week. And so with life's distractions and other types of things that can come up to derail my efforts, it might be somewhat of a challenge to do it, but I am up for the challenge and I'm going to see what I can. The goal initially is going to be to post 2 blog posts and post 2 podcasts per week. That should get me closer to 200 pieces of content, but I know there'll be weeks where I'm on vacation and some other things that could come up. I wanted to give myself a little bit of a cushion in case there's some weeks where I'm just not able to post quite as much. I also want to grow followers and traffic again. If I can actually achieve the goal above and create 150 to 200 pieces of content, the natural result, I would hope, is that the WaxPackHero community would grow along with that. I would like to see Twitter grow from about 1,200 to 2,400 followers, the blog traffic to grow from about 3,500 page views a month to 6,000, and to see the podcast grow from 0, starting from scratch a couple weeks ago, to over 1,000 listeners. I also want to try to stay active on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Heck, maybe I can even figure out how TikTok can fit into my strategy. I think there's value in all of those platforms, and part of the learning for me will be to see how the content I create fits with those and what the audiences on those platforms want to see and want to hear. And so there you have it. Setting goals always leads to better outcomes for me. And I think that if I hit these goals, I can expect 2020 to be better than 2019 was. It's a great time to be in the hobby, and I'm so appreciative of all the interaction I've had with everybody. I appreciate the kind words on the podcast so far, and I can't wait to hear what goals you have for 2020. So reach out and let me know. You can connect with me at waxpackhero@gmail.com, on Twitter @TheMikeSummer, and by searching WaxPackHero on Instagram and Facebook. Take a second to click the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, TuneIn, or any of the other podcasting platforms that you might use, and leave me a rating and review. It'll really help me spread the word. Thanks for listening, and I can't wait to hear from you. Catch you next time.